right, we're live. If you'd like to come work with me, suitsandposing.com is where you've got to go. So, a couple things tonight. We are going to do a wrap up of the Pittsburgh Pro from what I saw from being in person there. Start with figure, we're gonna go to wellness, and then we'll end out with bikini. But we're gonna go through everything that happened this weekend. This is your opportunity to ask questions. I am going to review pretty much all the questions that came in to me on my Instagram and all of that. I'm going to review those and answer for you the questions that you had. This is your opportunity to ask, what I saw and all of those kinds of things too if I don't cover it. But also I want to mention this. We're going to start moving some of our stuff over to YouTube. So you guys can thank Lauren Daniel Miller for this because she got me thinking about this when I was at Pittsburgh. Actually, we were talking about this after the show. And I've realized that I have this YouTube channel sitting there that I have not used. So I'm going to start putting stuff over there. So after tonight's feed, I'm going to take the opportunity to take this and edit it and put pictures and videos and stuff into it as we're talking about these things and post it up on YouTube. So then you guys can go back and look at the YouTube video, kind of match up what I'm talking about with the photos and videos and all those sorts of things as well. And then eventually, I think if we get a good decent amount of people over on YouTube, we may actually start live streaming from there as well. So I think I figured out a way that I can live stream from both at the same time, from both here on Instagram and also YouTube. So kind of playing around with that. We are making BSPN an official thing, you guys, basically. We'll have an official BSPN channel on YouTube. We're making it real, like a real thing. Right? Let me see, we got a bunch of comments coming in. So yes, that's such a good idea. I was wondering why you didn't have one. I know we have a YouTube, we just don't really use it very much. We use it during the athlete search, and that's about all we use it for. Freaking awesome. I just tuned in. What are we adding? YouTube. Oh, I got it. YouTube. Yes, we're adding YouTube. So like tonight, like I said, tonight we're just going to stream right on here. We're probably gonna be streaming from here for a little bit till I kind of get the feel for streaming from YouTube as well. But I want to give you guys a heads up. We do have the link to our YouTube channel in our Linktree bio here. So when we're done with this live feed, go in there and go ahead and go in and subscribe. Because then once I get this video edited and put into YouTube, you can go over there and watch it there too. Cool. All right, without further ado, let's get into Pittsburgh. So we're gonna start with figure first. Notables, first of all, from figure is that number 1 and 2 in figure were the smallest and the biggest girls on stage. I thought that was really interesting. So the girl that came in second was actually the smallest competitor on that stage. And the girl that won it was the biggest competitor on that stage. So what I thought was interesting though was that they had the best balanced physiques as far as their conditioning and their overall package was concerned. We saw a lot of issues as we got down into the other placings underneath them, where some girls were leaner on top than they were on the bottom, or their physiques weren't quite balanced enough, or things like that. But these top 2 girls were really well balanced. Their conditioning was really well balanced. The girl that came in second, I thought she honestly, conditioning wise, was best balanced from top to bottom. However, she needs to grow some legs. So, I'm not mad about her taking second. I do think if she can grow some size onto her legs, not a whole lot, but enough so that she doesn't look quite so small, I think that would have put her into that first place spot. But the girl that actually won first place was really well balanced from top to bottom. She was my favorite from the start when she stepped out on stage. So I was happy to see that happen. And I was really happy to see Heather Dees look as good as she did. A lot of times when girls are off stage for a few years, it's hard to come back and look good. She hasn't been on stage in like 3 years, and she actually looked very, very good. I was very impressed with her. I think she just needs to come in a little bit tighter, and I think she would be good to go for a win pretty quickly, honestly. I was obsessed with Heather Dees' look, but I'm biased towards curls. Yes, I love the curls on Heather. I thought that was a great move on her part. It just fit her overall look. I really liked that a lot. Boyana looked great, but she was a little bit soft through the legs, probably just a little tired from having won the previous show kind of thing. Figure's a really hard division to continue competing week after week kind of thing, and I saw that in Boyana. She just looked a little bit tired. She doesn't need to compete anymore. She's qualified for the Olympia, so if I was her, I'd probably get off stage and give herself some time to rest, that kind of thing. Latoya Farley looked good, but she was definitely soft on her lower half. Beautiful look overall, beautiful look. But her lower half was definitely soft. So that's what we kind of saw as we went down the line in these girls in figure. As you got into the lower placings, you saw that unbalanced conditioning kind of thing. So I definitely think that the call was correct on this division, 100%. Yeah, but it was actually, I was very impressed with the quality of figure. Even though it was only 12 competitors, the quality across the board was actually really good for the figure girls. So it was actually really good. Oh, hi, I'm supposed to be in class, but I'm playing hooky to watch this. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. So moving on from figure, we're going to go into wellness next. So I got a lot of questions about wellness that came in. And the first thing I'm going to say is that Angela, that won this, is going to be very, very, very hard to beat. I mean, she just from the get-go was the standout in this particular division. Her frame is ridiculous. That waistline, you can't beat that waistline. And she's just really, like, even though she's dominant on the lower half, she's still very balanced as well. Her whole body is well conditioned everywhere. Like, there's not one thing that sticks out and you're like, oh, she's got huge legs, or oh, she's got huge this, or whatever. No, she's well balanced. She is quads and glutes and all of that, absolutely wellness, 100%, but she wasn't overboard on anything, and her conditioning was right down the line, right? Yeah, she's amazing. She nailed it, like, phenomenal. Yes. Frame and balance, yes. Waist, full glutes, legs, everything, yes. Now, here's the biggest thing that I heard as a criticism for the girls in, like, that top 5, top 6, and this came from people thinking that the wellness look was going to be a little bit softer. You guys, this look was softer. You know, Ureshna is a perfect example. When Ureshna won her pro card, she was too big, too hard, too muscular, too conditioned. And I said that from the get-go. I was like, if she brings that to the pro stage, she's going to have a problem. She came in softer at this show. Now, Ureshna is beautiful on stage, has a fantastic presence, all of that, but her legs are almost too big. And the reason why is because she came in a little bit softer than what she did when she won her pro card and everything. So she's going to have to figure out a good balance here, because in my opinion, she didn't even come close to touching Angela, not even close. And I think when I looked at the scorecards, I think it was like straight across the board ones for Angela. So for Ureshna, it's going to be difficult because she's going to have to pull that size down a little bit, just because she did look a little overwhelming on the lower half. Yes, it's an unbalanced physique. Absolutely, it's supposed to be. That's what wellness is supposed to be, but she was just a little bit too far over. She did, but her glutes look tiny, like flat at the top. How tall is Angela? I'm not sure how tall Angela is, but I want to say she's probably around 5'7", I would guess. She's the next Tom Brady, only in bodybuilding, right? Yes, loved her look. Yes. So and I look at Angela and I think she's going to be like a Sydney Gillian. She's going to be at the top for a while. It's going to be hard to beat her. It's going to be very hard to beat her. Because not only is her physique phenomenal, but she's beautiful too, and she had a fantastic presentation as well. So it's going to be very, very difficult to beat her. You know what I mean? So her husband coaches her. I wonder if she needs to go back to Team Pin and Ureshna. No, here's the thing with Ureshna, you guys. I think Ureshna brought the right look to the stage. I don't think she did anything wrong. I think she did the right thing. But in order to be competitive and to be able to beat somebody like Angela, she's going to have to change her body. Like, she's going to have to bring her legs down a little bit and get that full pop to her glutes like Angela had. When you've got a girl like Angela who's got the frame and the muscularity and things that she does and that tiny, tiny waistline, guys, that's freak factor. Like, that's really hard to beat. It's just really hard to beat, So, how do you think she'll compare to Francielle? See, they actually competed against each other in Brazil, and Francielle won. So, I want to see what they do here in the States against the judges here in the States, because in Brazil, Francielle did beat Angela. So, I don't know. From my vantage point, and I haven't seen Francielle compete live, so I don't know. From what I saw, though, Angela was pretty phenomenal. So Angela's glutes almost looked like they did. They did. But they moved. I've seen implants move. Here's the thing. I've seen glute implants on stage. You can tell when they're glute implants. You can tell. They're not implants. I don't know what she's got going on back there. They're not implants. I can tell you that. But they're freaking, like, she's like, again, next level, like superhero next level. I don't even know. I don't even know how that exists in real life. You know, so I don't know. Yeah, Angela's glutes were the most 3D popped off her body from a variety of angles. She killed it in the walk to back. She sure did. Now that would be a good show in the States. Yes, it would. Yeah, they've competed against each other a few times in Brazil. Yep, did not know that. I'm excited to see them against each other. Yes, yes you can, LOL. So you know, I think this was right. And as you go down the line, here's the biggest critique that I heard from some of the U.S. people, right? The U.S. pros, is that they thought it was going to be a softer look. Well, guys, when you have more muscle to begin with, you have a more muscular foundation than bikini, you are going to look like you're more conditioned. I put up a side-by-side photo of Ashley Kaltwasser with Angela at the beginning of the week, like on Saturday or whatever it was. When you look at them side by side, their conditioning is very, very similar. Very similar. The biggest difference is that Angela just carries more muscle. When you carry more muscle, you're automatically going to look like you are more conditioned. She's not, though. She's just as in shape and just at the same conditioning level as Ashley was, but she just carries more muscle. That's it. These other girls that were a little bit softer, like the US girls, there were several US girls that were softer. They need to up their conditioning level. Now, we've talked about this particular word, conditioning, before. Conditioning can sometimes mean leaner. Conditioning can also sometimes mean more muscular, more muscle density, more of that 3D pop, like somebody mentioned about Angela's glutes, that 3D pop. That kind of conditioning isn't getting your body leaner, it's getting more muscle density. So I think some of these girls got that confused, and I think that this particular show showed very clearly what that meant, right? I do think that if some of these US girls came in a little bit tighter as far as leaner, they probably would have fared a little bit better, but I do think there were some of them that just need some more 3D muscle, some more muscle density to create that conditioned look. Does that make sense? That's where we're getting the difference there. Because there were some girls that were over-conditioned, and guess what? They were in the last call-out. So, let me see, I missed some comments here. The Brazilians need their own category, right? Yeah. I agree, they're blessed. They sure are blessed. Well, here's the thing with the Brazilian girls, too, and this is something I wanted to bring up as well before we go into other comments here. Imagine this, okay? Now, initially, I was a little salty that none of the U.S. girls were up in that top five, right? They did okay. We had some U.S. girls. Well, I take that back. Sunny was in the top, was top three, right? Sunny, or four. I'm sorry. Sunny was top four. She's U.S. But with that said, like we had, Casey and Renee. They were on the cusp there. Alyssa was ninth, that kind of thing. Some of the girls that did well at the national level shows here last year. You got to understand, though, you guys, this is brand new in the States. These Brazilian girls have been competing in this particular type of category for a decade. Forever. So could you imagine somebody walking in? Somebody mentioned Tom Brady earlier. Could you imagine somebody just walking in and beating Tom Brady for the MVP at the Super Bowl? I mean, sure, it could happen, but it's gonna be tough. The same kind of scenario here. Angela has won 59 titles in wellness. She ain't been doing this for a year. You know what I mean? So you got to give the girls here in the States some time to catch up. It's going to take a little bit of time. They're not used to this category. They're not used to what they have to do in order to get on the stage. These other girls are, because they've been there, done that. You know what I mean? They're the Tom Brady's of the sport, right? And these girls are the rookies coming in off the draft. Got to give yourself some time, right? That was a great comparison. Thank you. Now, in your opinion, when judges tell wellness girls we don't want that conditioned, hard, or look. We want that conditioned, softer look. What are your thoughts? Well, that was what I was just talking about with the conditioning. So we did go over that. That's what I was just talking about, the density of the muscle difference. Apple is making me sound dumb. I love it. Can you explain over-condition? Over-condition is too lean, too muscular. True, Eurechno is Puerto Rican, technically, yes. Technically, yes. How old is Angela? I don't know. I don't know how old Angela is. I don't know. I don't know how old any of these girls are, honestly. I have no idea. I see what you mean. I get it. Good. Yeah, so technically Eurechno is U.S. with being Puerto Rico. She's not Brazilian. But, you know, she's still been competing in categories like this longer than the U.S. girls. And when I say U.S. girls, too, is what I mean is the girls that actually won overalls and things like that at the national shows last year, that turned pro last year. That's what I mean by that, more than anything else. The girls that were rewarded here in the States this past year versus the girls that won their pro cards in other places. And again, Eurechno falls into that category too because she won her pro card at Universe. So again, whatever. She's just an anomaly. She's Eurechno. You know, you guys know what I mean. So overall, I think the girls just have to understand what that 3D muscle is, that density of the muscle, that pop to the muscle is, all of that. When you're growing new muscle, it doesn't typically have that right away. It takes time. So we'll see some of these girls, some of these U.S. girls come up in the ranks as they grow a little bit more, take some time to fill out and really get that density going for themselves. A lot of them had great frames. They just didn't quite dial it in quite right. And they'll get there. They'll get there, right? Interesting color suits like the orange wellness suit. Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of orange. That's just, to me, it was really distracting. Like you just said the suit, right? I don't want to look at a girl and be like, oh my God, her suit's amazing, and not remember what the girl's name was. You know what I mean? I want to look at the girl. That's the whole crux of having a good suit. You want the suit to fit you well and the color to pop and the lines to be right and everything, but you don't want to look at a girl walk on stage and say, wow, that's a really pretty suit, because then you miss the girl. And that's what I felt we saw with some of these bolder suits, with some of these orange suits and things like that. I wasn't a huge fan. Missed the girl, right? So I wanted to give a shout out to both Devyn, who made her pro debut in wellness, and then also Desiree, who made her pro debut in figure, who we did help with their presentation and their suits and everything as well. They did phenomenal, and they looked so good, and I was so proud of them. So I wanted to give them shout outs for that. Definitely distracting. Yes, definitely distracting. So before I move on to bikini, any other questions about figure or wellness that I didn't cover yet? Okay. I'm going to move on to bikini. If any other questions pop up about figure or wellness, please let me know. Yeah, Devyn's posing was amazing. She did such a good job with her presentation. I'm so proud of her. She did so good. Okay, so moving on to bikini. So guys, this was an interesting show. And I'm going to say again, right out the gate, Ashley beat everybody hands down. She did. You guys know that I've been critical of her and her presentation for a long time. I have. And this show wasn't like she was phenomenal at posing. She wasn't. It's still not her strength, but she's getting better. I do think she hit a much better back pose this time around, and I don't think anybody even came close to beating her from the back. Nobody came close to beating her from the back. It just is what it is. She's got phenomenal glutes, and I think that overall her body was just the best in tune for this show. I saw a lot of girls that were too soft, and I think this is what I wanted to bring up about this particular show. These girls didn't get on stage till, 8 o'clock at night, something like that, for prejudging. That's not normal for a show. That's not normal. Usually you get on stage at 8 o'clock in the morning, not at 8 o'clock at night, right? So I think a lot of these girls kind of overestimated what they needed to eat and drink throughout the day, and I think a lot of them spilled over. That's what I saw from watching the physiques of a lot of these girls. They looked softer than normal. Some of them were dialed in okay, but overwhelmingly a lot of them were soft. And I think that's the reason why. It's really hard to hold really sharp conditioning through the whole day. It just is. And especially when you don't have a ton of muscle either, you know what I mean? Like Bikini on the rank of muscle in the pro league is the lowest amount. And when you don't have a lot of muscle to feed, it's very touch and go. So I think that's what happened to a lot of the girls in this particular show. It did not happen to Ashley. Ashley looked great. She just did. Ashley's posing was so much better. It was. Spillover just basically means exactly that. They spilled over. They had too many carbs, too much water, too much whatever it was. I'm that girl that I actually look better at finals than I do in the morning because I'm a big girl and it takes a lot to fill me out. It takes a lot of food, takes a lot of water to fill me out. I look better at night than I do in the morning. Most girls are not like that. Most girls look better when they first get out of bed in the morning, right? When they're tight and they're vascular and all of that, right? One in particular that I saw that kind of faded really fast throughout judging was Gabrielle. So I had high hopes for Gabrielle. She came out, and she actually looked really tight when she came out on stage. But as prejudging went on, she got softer and softer. And as the comparisons went on, she got softer and softer. And that just tells me that she just wasn't dialed in correctly. She probably did have too much food in her system or something. I don't know. I don't know what her protocol was, but it just wasn't correct because she got worse as she posed more. Usually when you pose more, that shuttles food through your system and you tend to tighten up, usually. But when you're competing at 8:30 at night, it's a different ballgame, you know? My glutes, my shoulders, everything. Yeah, Gabby's glutes look different. They did. She was very soft from the back, very small from the back. And again, that tells me maybe she was over dieted. I don't know, but that was my thought process, is that she was over dieted. When somebody changes, when their physique changes that fast in front of you, they typically have pushed too hard on their diet, typically. Again, I don't know if that was her case, but that's what I'm surmising from what I saw, right? Alessia and Lauren, 2 and 3, they were good examples of this. Both of them were a lot softer than what they typically are. Now, I believe with Alessia, that was the goal. Alessia's always been a little bit too hard. So I've noticed over the last few shows, they've softened her up. They're filling her out. Like I mentioned after Wasatch, she needs to grow some more glutes. I still think that's the case. But like when you look at some of her photos on NPCNewsOnline, you can see she has a little distension in the lower abs. And that's just from eating too much, basically. In her scenario, I kind of think it was a good strategy because her critique was always that she was too hard and too grainy. So, okay, let's go to the opposite end of this. And I think that's basically what they did. But now in order for her to get better, I do think she needs to take some time to grow. I mean, her shape is great from the front, but from the back, she really lacks in those glutes and needs to pull them up. Going on to Lauren was definitely soft in comparison to what she was at Border Clash. And I did see her make a post about that too, that they kind of overestimated that kind of thing. And she did soften up and flatten out as the night went on. And it's funny because you could just see when she walked on stage that she knew she'd gone overboard. You know what I mean? Like she knew she was past her peak. Her presentation's always phenomenal, but like her confidence level at Border Clash was next level in comparison to what it was here at Pittsburgh. It was just like something was like not quite there in her eyes. And I think it was because she knew that she had flattened out, she had softened up. When you're that close, and again, her boyfriend does her dieting and stuff like that, so she's really, really close to what her frame is supposed to be and all of those kinds of things. I think she knew in the back of her mind that she'd missed her peak, and you could see it in her actual eyes as she walked out on stage, right? She's competing next week in St. Louis, Alessia. Yeah, I did see that. Yep. I've never realized how much goes into this. I'm learning it a lot. I've been curious about the sport. Well, good. I'm glad this is helping. So, I don't think this was the best Lauren that we saw, and I think she would agree with that. I think she still was phenomenal. I mean, she still took third, but I think that Border Clash was definitely her best in comparison to Pittsburgh. And again, I could just see it. I could just see it in her face that she knew. That she knew she wasn't quite there. It's hard when you're prepping for a show that you have to peak at 8:30 at night. You know what I mean? That's hard. The one girl I wanted to really shout out here is Jessica Wilson. So Jessica Wilson came in 5th. And I've always thought Jessica was super cute on stage. And I felt like like I mentioned at the last show she was in, which was Wasatch, right? Wasatch was the last one she was in. But I thought that was the best she's ever looked. When she came out on that stage, she had the best presentation on that stage. Like, her confidence was next level on that stage. I'm sorry, but it was. Like, there was nobody that even came close to her on the confidence level when she walked out. And I'll also say this, I think her front pose was the best front pose in the entire lineup. If you guys want to see how to really do that OG stallion pose, she does both the traditional side pose and everything, but she does the OG stallion pose as well. If you want to see somebody that does that really well, go take a look at Jessica's pictures and videos. She does that very, very well. She does lack a little bit in the glutes. She needs to pull those glutes up and pull them out to the side. Like I mentioned at the last show, she's got to fill out the top part of her glutes. But from the front, she's friggin' phenomenal from the front. I think she beat Ashley from the front. Like, if I could take Ashley's butt, her back shot, and put it with Jessica's front shot and Jessica's confidence in posing, I think that would be the perfect bikini competitor right there. Like, that would be right there. Boom, done, we're good. You know? Oh my God, Jessica did so well. She put a lot of years of work. Yes, absolutely. You know, you could just tell she was having a blast up there. And it was literally from the second she walked on stage, and it was just so much fun to watch her. And she knew she was having fun. You know, that's that confidence I'm talking about. That's that spark that you got to have in order to really stand out. And she definitely had it. You know, and again, going down the line, I felt like a lot of these girls kind of softened out as the prejudging went on. Like, Anne Marie looked great, and then she kind of got a little bit soft through the midsection. Again, that happens when you've got food and water in your system. Lexis made a big post about this, how she softened up throughout the day. Her lower half was not conditioned enough. That happened to a lot of these girls. You know, it's when you're so used to peaking your body for a morning prejudging, and then you have to peak your body for something 12 hours later. It's not easy. It's not easy. And there's a lot of these shows where these girls don't even get judged at night. You know, it's like it's over prejudging, so they come out and they get their awards and they're off. Jasmine's a good example of somebody who knows that she needs to get better between prejudging and finals, you know, because she's had to go against, been so close in those like 1, 2, 3 spots where she's been judged at both shows. And it's hard to stay as tight from the morning into the night show. It's really hard. And every one of these girls had to stay tight through till 8:30 at night. So I do think that really played into a lot of the looks that we saw on stage, and why some people spilled over, and why some people were flat, and why some people were soft. 12 hours. 12 hours can make or break you. 12 hours. Right? Yeah, Ashley probably didn't struggle with peaking late because she doesn't get very hungry all during peak week. So she says, well, Ashley's also from Vegas, so she's used to being 3 hours behind. So I think that helped her as well. I'm just saying, I think that probably played in her favor. Yeah, Splash House was like that so long and no judging at finals, right? Yep. My thought is everyone needs to sleep through the day, but I know that would be impossible logically. Yeah, it doesn't happen like that. There's no way. You know, you've still got to eat. Your body's still on a clock. You know, it's not going to just automatically turn off. And that's the thing, too. Usually when you're in the last week of your show, going into your show, your body's on fire, usually. So a lot of times girls are getting up in the middle of the night to eat. So it's not about sleeping. It's just about the fact that you actually have to keep your body, like, in play for those 12 hours. I mean, what are you going to do? Sleep for 24 hours? You're going to wake up and be flat as hell if you do that, right? This doesn't work like that. So, you know, I think a lot of people will learn from this. And, you know, if nothing else, it gives them some data points. You know what I mean? A good example would be Lauren. You know, she's going to have to take some notes from this show, because going into Olympia, you know, if you are top 10 at Olympia, that does happen in the morning-ish, like around noonish, that kind of thing. But then the evening show, you know, and if it's close and you happen to be in the top 5 or something, and they do confirmation of judging and you're a little soft, you're out of that top 5. You know, that can happen. So this is a good show to take those risks and get some data points and get some knowledge that you could apply later on down the road. So hopefully these girls did that. So hopefully they got some ideas of how to better peak themselves as they go forward, right? I think Oh, and I know one of the questions was were the bikini pros harder, and they definitely weren't. As you can see, like I was saying, most of them are softer actually, for this reason. And that's it. That's my wrap up. I think that across the board, the judging was right on with everything. I really do. I don't think that they could have, I mean, maybe one or two girls could have flip-flopped spaces, but I think the people that should have won. And I mean, that's what really matters. Those are those Olympia qualification spots. You know what I mean? So West Coast girls have a bit of an advantage going out east for shows that are judged later. I would say, yeah. Their bodies are on that clock for West Coast. It doesn't change when they come over here. Yeah. Why did they always do that for Pittsburgh? I don't know why. That's just how it always is, has always been. They only award top 3. Only. I don't know. You know, if you're NPC at a national level show or something like that, that's great and everything. But this format here this weekend was really good for the athletes. Really good athlete format for sure. How noticeable was the vacuum on Ashley and Angela's front poses in person? Photos made it look crazy. Yeah, I mean, there were a few of them that definitely needed some. We already know that Ashley needed some work on her posing. We already know that. Angela just got a teeny tiny little waist, regardless of if she's vacuuming or not. It's just tiny. So in person, it just looked great. So it didn't look weird, I guess would be a good. I don't know if that's a good adjective or not. I don't know. But it didn't look crazy. It looked good. She looked good. Her waistline was ridiculous in a good way. If everybody's good with the questions, I will go ahead and say goodnight to you guys. It was a great weekend. I really enjoyed the show. Like I said, I loved the format the way that it was, so that was great. We'll be back tomorrow, and like I said, as long as those pro lists are updated, I will do a live feed about the pro list for this weekend, and then we will be at Girl Power. So we'll be at the biggest of the three shows. That's the word I'm looking for. And we have several girls competing in both pros and amateurs, so it should be a fun weekend. Again. All right, you guys, have a great night, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow at 8:15. Good night.